October 15th, 2020. That was the first day I tried Rec Room for the first time on my Oculus Quest 2. It was my second experience with a VR game, and I got Rec Room because my friends told me that it was a really good game to play on VR. And although there's many things that I experienced in my first playthrough of Rec Room, I think one of the things I think about a lot is how much I loved the UI when I first started playing this game. I adored the absolute fun that it was to click these three-dimensional buttons that just look so nice and simple in such a good way. And I just felt that this UI just felt perfect for VR, where VR is all about the three-dimensional feel that you could never get on a flat screen. Now imagine how disappointed I'd be 4 years later, seeing as they're still trying to butcher this UI into a 2D UI. Today we're talking about the problem with Rec Room's UI change. So some of you that maybe started playing around 2021, 2022 when they first started actually changing this UI from 3D to 2D, maybe don't even know that some of the UI, or most of the UI, used to be three-dimensional. People who played back in 2016 all the way up to 2021 were very accustomed to a three-dimensional UI that was super great. I think Rec Room's UI back then was just so simple in some of the best way. Or like VR chat back then even did, like the 2D UI where you're just on like a little tablet just clicking stuff away. But like I feel like Rec Room's UI was one of the only UIs that really actually tried this whole three-dimensional feel that really like fit. And it just sucks to see where it's gone. But let's explain why that happened. So why did Rec Room move away from this 3D UI? Well, first off, the main reason, screen modes. So when Rec Room went more focused on screen mode players, because usually it gets in a lot of players and people get introduced to Rec Room through screen mode, they wanted to make the UI easier to use on screen mode, which I guess the 3D UI was a bit weird on screen mode, but they decided to try and go with the 2D route where it would be easier on screen mode because it's two-dimensional and more like how screen mode UIs are in most games. So back at around 2021, they decided to change the play tab. That was the first time where they changed to a 2D UI. And the 2D UI definitely looked very bizarre back then, and there was a lot, and I mean a lot of deserved outrage on the choice to move to 2D. And they said that it would be where they slowly change everything to eventually be 2D, and there would be no choice to go back to 3D. You would be forced on 2D. When they moved to the 2D UI for the play tab, that's when they started trying to move more with the UI changes eventually. I don't really remember which one they changed next. It might have been clubs, it might have been events, but they slowly kept changing each one, and it would take a ridiculous amount of time to the point where we're in 2024 and we still have UI that's 3D where majority of it is 2D. And it makes me beg the question, why did we have to go through all this effort with this 2D UI? If they couldn't complete it within like 3 to 4 years, it seems weird why they're still even doing it. I still never understood really why, and if it was just for screen mode, then they should have just had like an option to go 3D or 2D, which I feel like wouldn't have been that bad because they have plenty of choice options, like for example, full body versus bean. You can use bean, you could use full body, you can have noses, you can have eyebrows, you can have whatever you want. You have choice. When you're on screen mode, you get to choose between the control schemes because they made a control scheme that feels more like Fortnite and like other games that exist. But you're not forced upon it. You could change it in the settings. And it makes me beg the question, why didn't they allow us to choose which UI choice we want? Because I suppose maybe it's for the fact that it won't be like compatible, but there's not really anything like I guess too new. Like they could have maybe just updated both, but people will probably argue that they like the 2D UI more. But honestly, the main thing with the 2D UI is we've been just pushed out so long that we've gotten used to it. When in reality, I think the 3D UI is just so much nicer. I feel like it captures Rec Room's aesthetic so much better. And that's where, again, player choice would be a great thing for this, because it would allow people to, if they really do like the 2D UI that much, to just use it. But again, there's just, with the 2D UI, it's just, I don't like most of it. Like, for example, the home menu of the 3D UI is so simple. It's just a ton of buttons that all access certain parts of the watch. And those are the only parts of the home UI, and it allows you to have a gateway to all the different parts of the watch. The home UI right now is, we got play, create, store, events, clubs, challenges, backpack, rec center, and dorm room, which was all normal. But then we have the play tab right here, so that way it can push you to playing games, the recommended, most popular, Rec Room Originals, online friends, featured items, featured custom shirts, featured inventions, featured dorm skins, and it's so cluttered with stuff. And it just shows to the point where, like, Rec Room, I feel like with this 2D UI, wanted to also push more of players to get into rooms as soon as they can. Because that's also how it reminds me with orientation. Like, when you first open your watch to orientation, it tries to show you games, it tries to get people in the games as quick as they can so they can just get to the content and not actually take time to do anything else. It's where Rec Room, again, cares about revenue right now and trying to earn money rather than do a lot of work and make fun stuff for the community, you know? Like, on top of the fact, the other thing is the UI performance is so much worse on 2D. I probably should have focused on this earlier, but the performance on 2D is so atrocious. Like, Star Centurion, right? Like, he started making content now that he's not really actually working for Rec Room, and he showcased what the Quest 2 used to run the 2D UI at versus now with their performance improvements, even though it's still pretty bad. And it was like 10 FPS, 15 FPS, 20 FPS on like Quest 2, and even on PC it was rough. Like on standalone screen mode it was rough. Now it's like 50 to 60, but like, oh my god, dude. Like, the performance of the 2D UI is so bad that speedrunners use it to glitch through walls. They open their watch so that way the game lags, causing them to push through walls. That is how egregiously laggy it is, to the point where it's able to make screen modes glitch through walls. If that doesn't show how the performance of the 2D UI is bafflingly, laughably bad, I don't know what does. And the 3D UI has never had a problem with that. There was never like performance frame drops. It was always smooth because it was just, it felt like it was built for this hardware, where the 2D UI kind of feels like a rushed mess. Also with the 2D UI, they're still changing old UI all the time. The People tab has had like 10 different phases of UI changes. You never know if you'll ever get used to the UI, because eventually they'll just change it the next week, and it never stays the same. It's just like how RecNet keeps changing. But RecNet, I feel like, is finally starting to look fairly good, but like, the watch UI is still just miserable, dude. Like, it's one of the most annoying things. Also, on top of that, while I was recording this video, there was an update they released where they made it so that when you type, this is the most stupidest thing you're ever gonna bear witness to, but when you type, the fingers are off center. When you try to type a letter, it'll type the letter next to it. Hopefully it's showing on camera, but that is like the stupidest bull. How do you screw up fingers? Like how? What are you guys doing over there? Like, you, why? What are you guys doing? And obviously you can just click, but I don't want to click like that. The other thing that I liked about old Rec Room that I saw was that, like, these drawers actually held your clothing and you would actually be able to equip it. Maybe I could find a clip of it, but like, it was so much cooler than just going through like a watch menu. It was more immersive, obviously, which I think immersion is kind of what a lot of people want on VR. Where now we just have all these stupid buttons on the mirror that kind of look stupid, no offense. But they kind of just do, there's buttons, and when you click it, the watch lags, and then when you're scrolling through, it's laggy, and stuff doesn't load in, and it's just absolute pain. But yeah, for the most part, I just always miss the 3D UI so much. The 3D UI, I feel like, is such an important thing. In video games, one of the most important things is the UI of a game. You always want it to look good, and you always want it to be personalized for your game, where this UI, it kind of just feels like we're playing VR chat, you know? It's just, I don't know how I feel about that, and I think they're gonna always keep pushing the 2D UI. We're probably still never getting that dark mode UI they teased years ago that we'll probably just never see the light of day because I guess they just gave up on it. And I'll always miss the 3D UI. They should have never got rid of it, but you know, that's Rec Room. Always getting rid of the things you love for something you hate. That's all I got for today. See ya.